Hello, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Sports. My name is Michael Rasile. This is the show where we get to talk about sports, we get to talk about business, we get to talk about everything in between, wherever you're listening, however you're listening. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to give a 5-star review, you're supposed to review us on Apple, you're supposed to like and subscribe on YouTube. Everybody knows, so why aren't you people doing it? But I appreciate you anyway for listening. More importantly today, my incredible guest, I have Kunal Gandhi. He's the founder and CEO of EZPT. Kunal, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is all mine, man. I'm excited to get to talk a little bit about, PT, right? The easy part of it. I think that's the part people want to know more about, the easy part. So we talk about personal fitness, training, everything you got going on. You've done a lot of research, probably more research than most people have. I always think that's important. But, Kunal, the most important question I have, and the first question I have for everybody on the For the Love of Sports podcast is, why do you love sports so much, man?
Oh, I love sports for reasons I could list on for days, but the biggest thing that really draws me to sports is mindset and performance. You know, when you think about what it takes to be an athlete and the idea of consistently practicing something over time and then consistently performing at a high level, that's what really draws me to the world of sports. I think, I've grown up watching LeBron James. I know there's a lot of Michael Jordan fans in the audience, but I've grown up watching LeBron James grow as not only an athlete, but as a person. And he's one of those athletes that I've always looked up to as a kid.
I've loved LeBron. I'm more of a LeBron fan than a basketball fan. That's kind of what it is for me. And talking about performing at the highest level, dude is now also just, I guess, confirmed. I don't know how you confirm that, but confirmed a billionaire at this point. So obviously he is working at the highest level in more places than one, which I think is pretty important. And he's always been, sometimes he's a little tongue-in-cheek, right? Sometimes like, all right, LeBron, we get it. But most of the time I think he's an incredible human being, incredible person. More importantly, the best basketball player on planet Earth. So I'm right there with you, man. Michael Jordan was great, but I was like 6. Who cares?
Yeah, absolutely. But fundamentally, it's the mindset growth of athletes over the years, and just like, even for me, like I'm an avid golfer now, and just going in there, really just honing in on one moment in time, and that translates to aspects of business and performing at a high level when I'm working. And so that's why I love sports. And I've played everything from squash to fencing to basketball to soccer. So I've grown up, played so many different sports, and I love sports, man. I love it.
Yes, man. You're wearing a Princeton hat. What's the connection to Princeton?
Grew up hometown, small town, Plainsboro, New Jersey, right in the suburbs of Princeton, and I just coincidentally am wearing the hat today. I haven't worn this hat in a long time, and I just felt like a little piece of home today.
Well, maybe if you knew that I was probably less than 20 minutes from the Princeton College, that might the world works in weird ways, man. I literally, where I'm sitting right now, it takes me less than 20 minutes to get to Princeton. So
you're a Jersey guy, huh?
Yep. Born and raised, been here. Went to Rutgers. I wasn't quite good enough to go to Princeton, but I'm fine with it. I had a good time at Rutgers. So.
Oh, that's great. I love to see it. I'm over in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania today. Go Panthers! And yeah.
Kenny Pickett, man. Kenny Pickett, legend. So I'm curious, right? We talked about mindset and your mindset, like why you love you love sports so much, because a lot of it has to do with the mindset, right? Like there's a lot of people that have talent, but there's also a lot of people that can't hone it. There's a lot of people that are really good, and there's a lot of people that really can't put it together mentally. You see it all the time, right? It happens constantly. College sports, I'd say more than anything, you have these high level recruits that come in, and you can tell they just can't handle the pressure. What is it? How did you develop that mindset? You personally, how did you develop your mindset around working and performing at the highest level?
I think, mindset comes from a collective of all of your life experiences. So for me, when I look at my childhood, I grew up in a house where my grandfather, 6'4", 250 pounds, was in a wheelchair. His right side of his body was paralyzed. My grandma was 5'3". She'd carry him and take him to the bathroom every day, and it was nuts. The mindset of my grandfather to persevere was one thing, but the mindset of my grandmother to take care of another person and put other people before herself has played a huge role in the way that I look at myself performing, whether it's in athletics or in business. It's team first, people around me first. That's a huge aspect of who I am today. And then as I continue to grow up, 14 years old, we finally put him in a nursing home. My mom has a stroke on the opposite side of the tree. She was young, healthy, active, you name it. And so just seeing both sides of the tree deal with that, the first thing that I could think of is I need to start taking care of my health. I need to start improving my habits and my lifestyle choices day in and day out. I was already an athlete, but I wanted to take that to, an optimization sort of standpoint. And so I kind of just spent all of my time focusing on what can I do, what minor changes can I do in my day-to-day life to extend the time that I'm here on this planet.
At 14, what are some of those? Like at what 14-year-old, right? I was still drinking Sprite 4 times a day. What are you doing at 14? I mean, I'm sure the older you got, it became a lot easier, but how did you start implementing those things?
My obsession was in weightlifting. So though I played a lot of different sports, the big thing that I was always into was lifting and then getting the most time getting the most out of the time that I spent in the gym. So I'd always see all this variability in workouts. You go online, you type in workouts, you see thousands of different routines. Who's right? No one really knows. And so I became obsessed with this idea of form. If I turn my wrist 3 degrees to the right, maybe I'm getting a slightly better contraction, which leads to maybe a slightly more amount of muscle growth and yada, yada, yada. And so I was obsessed with bodybuilding, and it sort of evolved into this unhealthy pattern where I was working out 4 hours a day nonstop, doing all of my heaviest lifts to my 3 rep max, and then it evolved into working out 3 to 4 times a day, 2 hours a day. So I became essentially obsessed with performance and exercise, and I would never recommend anybody to do that, but it's just something that I started to go through. So I'll kind of pause there.
Yeah. And so, with that, thank you for pausing. Sometimes people I like asking questions. That's the whole point of this. We're trying to have a conversation. So with that, I mean, how do you, again, go into mindset, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's very easy to get into that. I'm going to do the most. I'm going to always be the best. And there's literally, I'm going to work so much harder than everyone else knowing that I'm going to win. How do you kind of come to terms and say, wait a second, this is actually probably not healthy for me just to constantly be working out 4 hours, 2 hours, whatever you said a day.
Yeah.
In the most possible way. Now you can look back and say that's probably not the best, but how again do you take your mindset and move yourself out of going from, hey, I'm going to be the best to, I can be the best, but understand that there's other things to do as well. Yeah,
exactly. You're exactly right. And so I think what happened to me was I learned the hard way. 2 weeks before going to college, I blew a disc in my back, and then I couldn't get up off the ground in a gym in New Jersey. I had a friend carry me up and the whole 9 yards. But the one thing that I realized is even after the injury, I continued to work out more. I would do an hour Pilates in the morning. I do an hour yoga class. This is at the Lifetime in Princeton, New Jersey. For those of you who are Jersey listeners.
My wife goes to the Lifetime in Bridgewater. She's actually there right now as well.
Nice. Yeah, so I do Pilates, yoga. I do a 2-hour lift. I would eat breakfast, and this would start at 4 a.m. I would work out again, do more functional lower body training in the afternoon, eat lunch.
Did you have a job? What were you doing? Were you going to school? What are you doing now?
This was my first summer break between college it was my first. I think it was my freshman year. Okay. So I would lift 3 times a day. I do a yoga class at night, swim a mile, and then do more recovery. It made no sense. The fact of the matter is, it made no sense. But realizing I damaged my body further with my shoulder and hip and other things, it kind of made me take a step back and realize, hey, there's certain things I should probably stay away from. And exercising 20 hours a day, it's pretty unrealistic.
I think there is, as you said, you want to get to the optimal level, and I'm sure that there is an optimal amount of time, right? Now, at least this time you weren't just max repping, right? You're doing yoga, you're doing Pilates, you're swimming, so make sure there's other things. You're not just bulking up unnecessarily. But no,
exactly.
I think it's good for you to come to those realizations, right? It's easy for someone to say, no, that's stupid. What are you doing? But it's so much better for you to come to those realizations because there's so many things along the way. There's a lot of steps along the way that you needed to hit. You had to hit all those checkpoints to finally get there and be like, all right, this is probably not the best thing in the world. So I noticed, obviously you're very into personal training. You've done a lot of research around, I'm going to quote, air quote, around that type of, master personal training, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously you're very interested in fitness, but where did you just take this through college and say, hey, this is me, okay, if I can't work out 8 hours a day, at least I'm going to learn about it for 4 hours and then work out the other 4?
Yeah, so my sophomore year or junior year of college, sophomore year, junior year of high school, after my mom's illness, I was like, okay, I'm learning so much about health and wellness. Let me start sharing it with other people. And then the demand increased, so I started charging people $60 for an iPhone note of every workout they do. And that was sort of the beginning of the business that I'm running today. It started there. I get to college after the injury, and I start training people at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm still working out through this injury and trying to keep pushing through it, I guess. But became the head trainer of my university. And in parallel to that, I thought I would go to medical school to just keep learning about the body. I mean, that was what made me tick. And so I started with researching with monkeys, tracking eye movement. I then moved to stem cell research, looking to help treat patients that were going blind with glaucoma. We were looking at different stem cell modalities. Then I went into rehabilitation of stroke patients, so we'd help them with motion analysis and those kinds of things, and then computer vision. And in those last two labs, I was there for a short period of time, but I'd already had the idea for EZPT, was formerly called Simple at the time. We'd already started the company. I was already doing these pitch competitions, so just naturally it kind of evolved into what I do today, and what we've been able to offer to people.
Yeah. Let's roll right into it then.
Heck yeah.
What exactly is EZPT? What was the former name of it? What are you doing, and how are you helping them out, man?
EZPT is a movement health platform. We help anyone from a stroke patient to an Olympic athlete move better. And the way we're doing this is we have an application on your phone. You set it up like you're making a TikTok video, and it'll track 20 joints on your hand, 20 on your body, 15 on your face. And when you do these exercises, the phone will actually talk to you. It'll say, keep your back straight, keep your neck straight, give you real-time feedback, and all of that data gets stored. And so we have networks of orthopedic surgeons, physical therapists, and trainers all working together to actually help you with your body, because, a trainer might, for example, tell you to push harder. If I was your trainer, I'd probably tell you to push harder through an injury, right? But back when I knew nothing. But realistically, what I needed was a physical therapist and maybe an orthopedic surgeon to oversee that treatment. And so today we started as a wellness product, and now, we're bridging into this healthcare world and starting to help people from sports to, patients.
It's such a cool concept too, as you said, and I like the way you kind of sell it. You set it up like you're doing a TikTok video. Everybody can do one of those. Personally, have I ever done one? No, I take clips from the show and I put it up on the TikTok. That's about as far as I go. But I understand what you're saying. We've all seen those people do it, right? So I guess where did the concept of this come from? Like, why was this? It seems like you say it, right? It's one of those, like, duh. Like, we have these phones, we have these cameras literally everywhere. Why don't we utilize them? But where does the idea for, hey, let's track every single piece of movement to make sure that you're actually doing things correctly, and you're doing this wrong, and we've seen this in too many people to know something's wrong here. Like, where does that idea even come from?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I remember seeing this app, and I don't remember the name, but it was basically an app that tracked the bar. So I remember I was training someone at Pitt. You'd see the line get drawn on the side of the bar, of the path of the bar. The bar could be going up and down, but your spine could look like a C curve. It could be rounded. And so if you're rounding your spine and you blow a disc, you're not going to know that from tracking the bar. And so we thought, let's track the human body. And we realized that there's more applications than just squatting as heavy as you can. You could actually help someone with Parkinson's or ALS or all these different aspects of movement.
So when did you start to implement? Like, everybody's got $1 million idea. I talk to entrepreneurs all the time, and everyone's got $1 million idea. Right? How do you actually put that into motion? Where do you even start with, hey, I want to track the body in like a million different ways? Like, okay, cool, me too. But like, how do you do that?
Yeah, the universities around here, University of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, a lot of great schools around here. So I had a cousin at CMU across the street. I run and go tell him, he's a computer science guy or electrical engineering guy. I go, hey, this is what I'm interested in. What do I do? And he goes, I'm not going to work on this with you. You got to go figure it out. And so I'm 18 at the time, 19, and I start knocking on all these research professors' doors saying, hey, will you help me build this company? And they're like, no, like, I'm not going to do that. So I go to this pitch competition.
Do you have a list of all these people, by the way? Or do you have like a best list for like just kind of what you do once you're like, not finished, but once you're, hey, we are getting seated. Like, you guys, you kind of missed out.
You know what? I'm glad that things worked out the way they did.
Of course.
The right people are on our team, and we're constantly recruiting the right people. And
you're highly competitive. I'm sure. Okay, you don't have to admit it, but you're as highly competitive as in the 13, 15 minutes we've been here. I'm pretty confident I know the answer to that question. You can keep
Yeah, so anyway, so fast forwarding to when things get kind of juicy, we start entering these startup competitions. I meet my co-founder a year in, Jay, who's just been an incredible engineer, had all the skills that I don't have, and then the pandemic strikes, so my younger cousin, who's now 18 years old, was 16 at the time, was trapped there with me. Turns out he's really good at animating and really good at digital marketing. So we hired him. We hired him for free at the time, right? And so now, there's the three of us continue to build the team. So we built a network of 30 engineers around the country after a startup competition that we'd won, and we had like $5,000. We had no money, but we brought these students together and said, "Hey, let's try to fix back pain and let's try to prevent injuries." So again, I'll pause there and
so
yeah.
is this more? So it sounds like this is more preventative than anything else, right? So it's like, hey, do a squat. Show us how to. So yeah, it's like do a squat in front of us. We're gonna tell you what you're doing wrong so that you can properly do a squat moving forward, so that you shouldn't have any injuries.
Yeah, when we first started, that was the exact idea. It was prevent injuries. But then we realized when we talked to more customers and talked to users, nobody cares about injuries until you have one. No one's thinking about them, and so we kind of realized, like, hey, like who actually needs this? And we realized that PTs, people that were in physical therapy, usually think 60 and up. Turns out 45% of the market is actually 13 to 45. And it's recurring ACL injuries, it's recurring back injuries. And so we wanted to focus on athletes that wanted to continue playing the sport they love through their 30s and 40s and not deal with knee pain and have to sit out on the sidelines.
Yeah, I think that's, as funny as that is, that's a pretty big number of people, right? Like I just turned 30 back in November, so I'm 31 this year. Still playing volleyball with my friends, still, playing beer league, softball, like doing all those things because like I've always loved being active. I've always loved doing something. And I would say about every other time, somebody gets hurt. We don't know how they get hurt or what exactly happened. Someone slipped, someone turned an ankle, someone did this, and it's always like, shit, I guess it was your turn this time to get hurt, right? So it's really important for people to understand. And then you tack on the fact that now, most people work in an office in some capacity. So what are you doing? You're sitting down 90% of the day. You're not using any movement. I always believe an object in motion stays in motion. Object at rest stays at rest. So if you do nothing all day and then you try and get up and do shit, it's not going to work out that well. So it's really interesting. I didn't know that statistic, that 13 and 30 and 45, and I think that's really important for people to understand because when I think of physical therapy, I think of old people. But then I always forget that I went to physical therapy when I was like 19. So obviously there's like a very big subsect of people there. How do you get this idea in front of them? As you said, like we don't want to. You're trying to prevent injury. Unfortunately, people aren't going to take advantage of it beforehand. They're only going to look at the after effect, and they're now going to be reactive. So what have you done? How have you been getting this in front of people and getting them to download the app, utilize it, and take advantage of your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So from TikTok, that was our original distribution strategy, and a lot of TikToking. And so we were able to reach 50 countries around the world. We were able to help people, just from all age groups. And that was sort of the initial spark that got us some momentum. And as we started to build out the team and, after raising our first round of capital in October, that sort of helped us ramp things up to a point where we're at now, where we have PT clinics using the app and offering them to their patients. So we have a dashboard where these providers log into, and then the athletes are able to go in and track their form. All of that data gets sent back to the PT to make sure that these patients are progressing correctly, because you can't have AI just replace coaches. That's just not the world that we live in. And I know a lot of the entrepreneurs that have come on here have said similar things. And so I think, fundamentally that's where things are going, and we just hope to empower these professionals.
I think that's really important, right? Get in front of the physical therapist because they're going to be able to, right? They have to teach them all these movements, but we've all done it. You're only going to physical therapy once a week. The other 6 days, are you actually doing everything you're supposed to, and are you actually doing it correctly? right? It's usually a buddy of mine, very good friend of mine, is a physical therapist, right? He's taught me how to do something multiple times now because that's just how the human brain works. I'm not focusing on it 100% of the time. I'm curious. I want to hop back a second. You said, during the pandemic is when you guys, you hired your cousin, you guys started to make all these TikTok videos. Everyone started to work at home during the pandemic. Everyone started to work out at home. Everyone started to buy Pelotons, RIP Peloton almost. But how do you, I guess we'll use the word credit the potential of everybody kind of being stuck at home, not being able to go to the gym as much. Like, again, my wife, she's literally at Lifetime now. They shut down for months. She wasn't able to go to the gym, so all the workouts were at home. Downloaded the Peloton app so that you could do the workouts at home. How much do you credit that or think that helped expand your business, understanding that these physical therapists weren't able to have people come to the office for months? They weren't able to see people for months. How much did that help?
I mean, it definitely helps. It definitely helped with the behavioral aspect of like working out at home. But we saw this trend coming, truthfully. Like, we started the company a year before the pandemic had happened, and we thought that the data aspects of here's an exact movement plan for your body based on the way you move your body. That was the original hypothesis around everything we were doing. It's, I go on Google and I find millions of different routines, but which one is for me? My limbs are this size, and my range of motion, I'm leaning forward on my squat, so I can't just keep squatting because my patterns are going to get worse and something's going to break. And so all of this really comes down to giving the exact recommendations for an individual based on data and real analysis. That's where we saw the opportunity, and the at-home push allows for less of a hurdle than setting up your phone in a gym's tough. Setting it up at home's a lot easier.
Yeah, everyone, as you said, everyone's kind of used to it now. It's like it's second nature at this point. It's only 2 years ago, right? It's only 2 years ago the whole world ended. I'm curious, like how do you guys determine, or who determines, what is the exact workout that somebody should be doing, or the exact movement? Because all bodies are different, right? Like, even if I'm the same height as someone, I might not be the same width, or I might not be the same weight. Like, how do you guys determine exactly what each person should be doing?
Yeah, we are working with the best medical professionals that we could possibly work with. I mean, we've got folks from Stanford Medicine, Rothman Orthopedics. We've got UPMC Sports Medicine here and their physical therapy folks. So I just want a big shout out to all of those organizations, especially, Dr. Arnold Milstein from Stanford Medicine, who's been a huge supporter of everything we've been doing. This clinical group that we've brought together, everyone's kind of giving their insights on how we should be really effectively treating patients for the lowest possible cost. Because PT, let's face it, it's very expensive. Personal training is very expensive. And so fundamentally what we want to do is provide access. If you're an athlete and from an inner city and you can't afford, top tier professional content or training, let's offer that and let's provide it to people of all ages.
And how much does something like this cost for, what's the subscription on something like this?
So we are currently, we've been on the App Store. Everything was originally free. And we had a premium subscription for stats. We're going to be offering a telehealth component really soon. And yeah, right now we're offering, for the PT clinics that are working with us, we're offering the patient side completely free, and the because we want people to just be able to use this, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's important to understand how you make money, right? This is a business podcast, and it's just through the lens of sports. Because if you don't make any money, you can't keep helping people, right? Like, that's kind of the important part. So it sounds like you guys kind of sell the service to the physical therapists or the trainers, and then that allows them to kind of, I guess, not license it out, but allow them, the users, to use this, and they would be able to see the statistics. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, so where things are going, though, is it's a consumer healthcare model. Like, we're building this digital clinic to be offered for anyone that wants to just sign up with a subscription through their insurance company, whatever the case is, and just download it and get direct access. Right now, we're working with these clinics to just continue to get feedback and learn from what these patients are going through on the app, and continue to make the app better and better in a controlled environment.
That is awesome, man. Kudos and congratulations on that. I think it's super necessary. People, like, I mean, I don't know, do I walk right? I have no idea. Like, who the hell knows, right? Like, I don't know. My legs hurt when I go to sleep at night. That's probably not a good thing. I don't know how to fix it, so we'll see. Maybe I'll be able to get that through the app. So, like, people are really lazy. And they don't really want to do stuff like this. Like, we kind of touched upon it. You're going through like the physical trainers and the physical therapists. I apologize. What else do you guys do? Like, really, did TikTok do that much to get that many people to download it? Like, what are those TikTok videos? What are they, like? What were you guys doing?
Yeah, so this all this credit goes to my cousin Nick. He would figure out what was trending. He would make videos around it. He would be putting some educational content up there, just a lot of different types of content. I think what keeps people on types of platforms like ours is gamification. So, a lot of folks grow up playing video games and they get hooked on them. And so similarly in health and wellness, in healthcare, et cetera, the way that we solve the compliance problem and adherence problems are through incentives. So, if you ever play Angry Birds or Candy Crush, you want to get as many points to spend them on other things. Or Fortnite, it's the same thing. You try to get skins. At EZPT, we're embedding a ton of different gamification strategies where, when you're doing exercises, you're grabbing coins and going through targets and such. So,
Very fun.
yeah, we're working on a lot of cool things over there.
I like it. No microtransactions though, right? None of those.
No headaches.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Those are the worst. Those ruin video games. But that does sound like fun. And again, if you're doing, as you said, if you're doing something correctly, you then have the opportunity to grab those coins and turn that into a little bit of game, right? I have my Fitbit on, every day, and I always try and get my 10,000 steps. Does that mean anything? I don't know. It just means I walk like 5 miles, which is probably better than not, right? So I think that part is pretty important. What are some of like the evolutions? What are some of the things that you kind of spoke about the gamification aspect, but what are some of the other things, right? I'm sure there's things that you guys are constantly thinking about and improving about it. Is there anything that you can lay out for us here?
Yeah, I guess on the app side, so the big thing is like we want patients to be able to use this every single day, and not only just for musculoskeletal services, but we see this evolving into a platform where all aspects of their health could be improved, whether it's mindfulness, nutrition, et cetera. So that's sort of directionally where we're going. And on the dashboard side, on the provider side, like we think that we're constantly trying to find ways to make the jobs of the providers easier. If you're a personal trainer or you're a physical therapist or you're a surgeon, you want to treat as many patients as quickly as possible because there are so many people that need your help. And so we want to provide the tools that help you move quickly, but also very efficiently and pair it with technology like motion analysis to make your job easier, make your job more data-driven. So in the short term and in the long term, that's sort of how we see things going. And we're working on some really cool partnerships with some large gym chains, which I can't share yet. But be on the lookout for that. We're working with a lot of really, really great partners in terms of technology, in terms of there's a lot of, and then in terms of athletes and content, we've got a lot going on with sports teams. Like we have the Penguins workouts on our app. You could download and try those out with Jason Jerome's strength and conditioning program. Shout out to him. So tons of stuff in the works. And if anyone's interested, I'm a phone call away.
Love it. Yeah, that's pretty important. I was going to say probably some like college. I mean, you have so many colleges there in the area. Do you have any potential opportunities with just any college program across the country? Because I think, again, like not only just their workout program, but being able to help them and being able to get into those locker rooms and help those guys out. There's 100-something football players on a team, right? There's so many sports we can't name them all. I mean, I'm sure that the opportunity for you to help out colleges, I'm sure that's towards the top of the list, right?
Absolutely. It's something that we definitely, are interested in helping them out. And, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a patient, we think that we can help you move better.
I love it, man. That is awesome. And it's extremely important because a lot of people just sit down and do nothing, which is kind of a drag. It's such a beautiful thing to have a life. Take advantage of it, right? Why not? Now, maybe don't work out like 8 hours a day like you used to, but go do something. Go on a nice walk. It's beautiful. Kunal, this has been awesome. The last thing I do want to talk about, again, you got a podcast, and we're on a podcast now, so we should probably talk about your podcast, The World's Most Interesting People. I saw you have a few episodes out that just started a couple weeks ago, right?
So The World's Most Interesting People is a podcast about folks that are from all walks of life. I mean, primarily it's been a lot of folks in healthcare, health and wellness, and content, people that make content that make people feel things. Those are some of the main focuses of what we've been doing. We had, I think, one guy that I was really excited about came on last week, Joe Zeff. He contributed to the Watch the Throne album cover. That was super cool.
Really
He
cool.
did a lot of the Time magazine covers over the years. We had Jamie Edwards from Startup Health, a huge ecosystem that many people know that are in the health and wellness space. So a lot of different folks like that. But it's also a nomination system, and that's what's really unique about this. So every guest that I have on is referring and nominating the next guest. Because I'm 22 and I see this as a 10-year journey, and as I continue to meet all these interesting people over the years of building this business, I want to share their stories and let other young founders and young folks be inspired by theirs. So
That's a pretty cool concept. I like that, having the next person nominate whoever comes on the podcast next. I think that's pretty cool. I like that, man. Where'd you get that idea? Was that all you?
yeah, I mean, I just thought, where is this going to take me? If it's the world's most interesting people, I want to meet people all around the world, and I have no idea where to start. I don't want to constantly be trying to deal with the politics of, why was this person more interested than that person? For me, it was just, if you think someone's interesting, then they must be interesting, and let's just see where that takes us. And like I said, it's a 10-year project. I'll see where it takes me when I'm older.
That'll be fun too, because you'll be so many degrees down the line, and you'll be like, oh, you should meet this person, because that person you were introduced from this person to this person, and it'll just be like a fun little kind of side, as you said, it's a fun little project that you'll be able to, after so many years, be able to look back and be like, it's a direct line to all these people. Now we just have to introduce as many of them to each other as we can.
Exactly. So crazy story about this. So one of the guests that I just had on, his name is Chris Keener, head of content at Mudwater, huge breath. Mudwater's great. Yeah, huge content guy. And he was referred by Jonathan Rempel, who's a producer at Aura. So Chris Keener, though, I look at his face, I look at LinkedIn, like who our shared connections are, and I see Matt Keener. Matt Keener was my first mentor in Pittsburgh, first advisor for my company. And so Matt lives in Pittsburgh, Chris lives in LA, completely random, but I ended up running into someone that I know very closely, his brother.
Look at that.
And it's just,
it's weird, man. The universe is weird. It does stuff.
And so, yeah, I mean, if you want to follow along the world's most interesting people on Spotify, would love it if you listened and checked it out.
100%. I'm going to throw the link in the show notes for everybody in the podcast and on YouTube, so everyone will be able to check those out. I think that's pretty damn cool, man. Well, Kunal, this has been absolutely fantastic. Tell us, where can we, obviously iOS and Android, but tell us everything about the app. Where can we find it? Anything about you? Where can we find you? Give it to everybody. And again, I'll put everything in the show notes.
Right now, our app is being offered by providers, PTs right now. So we're actually off the App Store right now.
Okay.
And no, it's great. So if you'd like to be a part of our pilot program, though, with our new version 3 coming out, schedule a demo, go on the website, www.ezpt.xyz. If you want to follow me, Kunal Gandhi 99 on Instagram. I've got a Beacons link in there that you can, get you to all my other social channels. And then LinkedIn is the best place to connect with me. Reach out to me. Love to talk.
Perfect. Yeah, that's where we connected, and I'm glad we did, man. This has been awesome. Kunal Gandhi, founder and CEO of EZPT. We appreciate your time. Everyone's listening. Time's the only thing we want more of. So thank you for giving me some of yours. But other than that, everybody, hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me on.